Now, with about 200 public and private universities, the question is not how adequate, but how functional are the ivory towers to satisfy the need of Nigerians. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has kicked against the initiation of new bills by the National Assembly for the establishment of new universities in the country. According to ASUU, there is no wisdom in pushing for the creation of new universities while ignoring the existing ones that are in poor conditions. Mayor, how
I'm on ASUU
do you think?
I'm with ASUU on this
Okay,
one.
no. Before we go to the merit or demerit, now look at our population growth. At the point in time, as at the time that I was privileged to do JAM, were like 35,000 across the country that did JAM as at that time. Right now, 2 million people.
I agree.
I agree. Sit down to do JAM.
But the difference in that one,
the expansion, you should look at the expansion. You should look at the number of admission. Now,
where I'm with ASUU on this one. It's an issue of cause and effect. You understand? Now, people have turned owning universities to status symbol. It's no matter of trying to promote education or develop education or develop our human resources. They've turned it to a status symbol where I own university. And what is the condition of most of these universities? Some of them are glorified secondary school because, this private bill is to encourage private universities. And already we have so many private universities in the country. What we need to do is to strengthen those ones. It's to strengthen those universities.
It's not the business of government.
No, that's what I'm saying. It is not because we have to look at
the private universities.
Yes, we have to find a way to make sure that there are regulations that will make these universities to be well funded and to run properly. But what we have is that somebody gets a license, he puts a couple of buildings together, and he says he wants a university. And people are going to pass through those universities, and you are going to put them in the society, and you want to expect them to perform. Universities that didn't have there are some private universities that are very good. There are a couple of them that are very good. But also, there are a lot of private universities that are just glorified secondary school. So when you now encourage more people to do that, you are just looking at people who are just looking at way of capitalizing on the fact that there are a lot of young population seeking admission, and they are trying to make money off that. That cannot be the kind of universities that we want. That cannot be the kind of university because in standard climes, private universities are even better than public universities because they have a lot of trust, they have a lot of money to be able to build it. People pay, it's fee paying. You understand?
Julie, we seem to be talking about quantity here, not quality.
You see, the more federal universities we create, the more difficult it becomes to fund the existing ones. This is just commonsensical. Look, every year
there's always a budget for education.
Our budget is rising, not in terms of what we allocate to education.
Okay.
Our budget is rising. I even thought that even in the COVID year, we would do what other countries were doing, cutting their clothes according to their size. But in our own case, we still increased the budget. At the end of the day, you are going to be borrowing money to finance that budget. So when you look at what is set aside to fund the education sector and federal universities, there is no way you can be encouraged to say, let us create more. We have politicized citing of universities up and down. You see a senator, he wants to make sure that he brings a university to his community. So that way he can say, I'm the one who brought university to Oye Ekiti. You see another person, maybe that one is just very high in the government. Maybe it's a secretary of the government and all that. He wants to bring a university to his local government. It's all politics. Now, states too are setting up universities. Those states, a lot of them can't fund those universities. The other day when these doctors went on strike, they were complaining that in one of the state universities in the southeast, doctors were being owed up to 5 months' salary. A man that you mandate to keep people alive, you are owing him 5 months' salary. Is that not madness? You are owing doctor, someone who has the key to life and death, depending on the situation of the patient that is brought before him. You are owing him 5 months. Those category of workers, should you even owe them for 1 day?
At all.
So, because the funding is just not sufficient. I went to a federal university the other day. There's no road tarred within the premises. They don't even have a perimeter fence around it. So, with the VC now go and meet Yahoo boys and say, please, since we need this thing desperately, please give us money. We want to fence our school. That same university, once it's 5 o'clock, the school has closed. Everyone begins to go home because there is no public electricity supply. That's a federal university that has been graduating people. They've graduated several sets.
They don't have,
and it's still in that state.
They don't have this.
Why do you think is that? Why do you? No, they don't. They built hostels for them,
but they can't
keep students there. A school that is not walled. Would you put your daughter in such an hostel to stay there overnight when the place is not walled, and you can see hills literally surrounding it like Jerusalem? So this is the situation. If a federal university could have been in operation for that long and is still in that state, you need to see some other. If you see that one, you will even congratulate them. You need to see some other federal universities. We are not prepared to fund them adequately. If we are prepared to fund them adequately, I will not oppose building new universities. So all we can do now is to say, okay, the ones that you have, how do you expand their capacity? Instead of starting new university here, can we even get them to accommodate more courses? Can we expand infrastructure there so that they can take in more students?
Yes, that's what we need to do.
You look at a university like University of Ilorin, they have a huge expanse of land.
Yeah.
At least when we were there, it was in terms of the expanse of land, they were the largest in the country.
Federal university in the 60s, ABU, in Ilorin,
so much land unused. When you are driving, you are going to, you are traveling out of Ilorin, up to Idofia, and you see the fence of University of Ilorin. Their fence. You know, maybe at that time they could even fence their. We now have universities that can fence their premises.
Oh no. Oh, no.
And we have every politician, the first thing he does in the Senate is to say, do you know how many had been turned down? A lot of them get turned down, yet every year you see
this kind of pressure coming.
Yes, this is the thing. Fund them properly. That's the point.
Mayor, so how do we do it? What we have in other sector, facing other sector, is what we are faced with in the education sector. You still want to fund the University of Lagos with 200 million naira per quarter.
What the government should
do. They used to get, you know.
What the government should do. You see, it's a matter of priorities. The same government that pays members of the National Assembly humongous allowances. It's the same government. It's a matter of priority. The same government that budgets huge amount of money for ASUU Rock Clinic, huge amount of money for traveling, huge amount of money for food and entertainment. So it depends on your priority as a government. The government should take education seriously. Yes. They should be able to fund education, allocate more money to education. That is the basic truth. You cannot have good education without money. So government should allocate more money to education, increase the infrastructures and capacities of the existing universities to be able to take more students. I used to tell people, when we were in University of Lagos, we eat jollof rice, chicken ice cream, for 50 kobo.
Mayor.
That was the time. It's the same country. In the same country, 50 kobo.
I didn't meet them.
You eat jollof rice and chicken.
I didn't meet them in that state. But my uncle told me that, in fact, what they used to do, they would, if they want to organize party, they would now buy, they will go to the refectory, buy a lot of chicken and food, They'll go and organize party.
It was the same in this same country.
Is that
this
chicken?
same country.
Subsidized meal tickets.
No, it's not
Yes,
meal
now.
ticket. Because you know, the
Obasanjo
funding was
that
better now. But as a people, as we start having, and we cannot generate enough money to be able to take care of our needs, you understand? Our priorities started changing, and people did not really value education the way they used to do. So we have to do that.
Okay, I have my first caller. Dr. Darlington is calling us from Owerri. That's Imo State.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes. I thank you people for this program and giving us opportunity to contribute to it. Now you can imagine us in this country. You check out the number of universities we have, whether federal university or state university. Which of them has become properly funded? This is the politics of I got to university for my state or for my community or for my local government. That is not the issue at stake. At stake is to fund education properly in this country. Just look at visit all our universities and check out the facilities there. Compare it with other universities. I don't want to mention Western world. I just want to talk about other universities in Africa, in West Africa. So please cross over to look and see things for yourself. But look at us, Giants of Africa. Our education is gone, completely gone.
Thank you, Dr. Darlington. Thank you for your contribution. Babajide, there was a time we had a vice chancellor in University of Lagos during the time of late Jalili Omotola.
Yes.
He tried to make sure that he removed the independence of government, or he stopped depending on government 100%. There was Unilag bread, there was Unilag water, the master's degree, the MBA executive became so expensive. He was trying to raise funds on his own so that to run the university without depending on government 100%. What do you see to this idea? Because people are now saying that, look, government must solely fund these universities, and they've shown that they don't have the capability of doing that.
Well, because they've also beaten more than they can chew. That is the thing. All this issue of funding that we are talking about, we didn't have it before. We didn't have it before. And not every university can be like Unilag. The capacity of Unilag to source for funds, no other university has it. The alumni association is so effective, and they have people everywhere. So others can't compete with them. Others can compete. The kind of funding that Unilag can attract. Unilag now has a microfinance bank. Yes. The kind of funding that Unilag can attract. You want a federal university up north to be able to do that? No, they can't. They can't. So they don't. All fingers are not equal. I still insist that, look, politicians should stop politicizing this issue. In 2019, 186 bills came before the National Assembly for new universities.
186 bills.
186.
That means there are people really pushing for it.
They are asking for it. The following year, 48 bills. So every year people will come up. I don't know how many people will ask for this 2022. Maybe they will still ask for 40. We can't continue like that.
Churches, other organizations, they want to own their own university. It's like a trendy thing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with that. If you have a very rich church, for example, if you look at Redeem, if you look at Covenant, if you look at Babcock, they're good universities.
Yes.
Because they have those organizations have the resources to be able to. That's what we're saying. Let us look at it from those who have the capabilities and the resources to be able to. Yes, the Catholic Church to be able to do.
It's the federal universities that we are talking about.
Yes, that are able to do it. Yes, those ones, they have the resources to do it. But the problem with the federal universities is that this government do not have the money. That is the reality. And you see, the problem with us in this country is that we just keep postponing the doomsday. Every year, we rely, even our budget, we rely on borrowing. You will get to a point that you know that you cannot. You cannot.
No, even those creditors won't
They won't be able to give you money again because every time, in fact, now, even for recurrent, we have to borrow. To be able to do that, to be able to fund our recurrent expenditure, we have to borrow. Every time the government is looking everywhere for funds to borrow. So that's the problem. The reality, you cannot continue to have university when you don't even have money to pay ASUU.
salaries.
The agreement you have with ASUU, you could not
Since
even
2009.
You are now saying you don't want to. The same UTAS that you admitted through your agencies was good enough. Suddenly now you say no, you don't want. UTAS is not good enough.